Self-worth is the understanding that you are so important, that you are the only one of you on this entire world. You are that special and needed here that they put you here.
Welcome to Supernormalized, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the seemingly supernatural. Join me, CJ, as we explore less uncharted realms of existence and unravel the mysteries of life experience. My treasured listeners, if you have a life story or healing modality or unique knowledge that you'd love to share, reach out to me at Supernormalized, that's Supernormalized with a Z, at proton.me. Let's together embrace acceptance of the supernatural and unusual as what it really is, completely normal. On this episode of Supernormalized, we are honoured to introduce June Edward, a renowned psychic medium whose extraordinary gifts have been with her since childhood. Unaware of her mediumship abilities until later in life due to a death experience, June inherited talents from her mother, who was also a medium, but kept that quite secret. Having personally experienced crossing over to the other side at the age of 27 and returning by choice, June provides first-hand evidence that life in an afterlife truly exists. With an impressive track record of bringing souls from the other side, June offers closure and healing to both loved ones and those seeking insight into their own lives. She has sold out group readings that provide invaluable glimpses into the workings of the universe. And in addition to this work, she also works on missing person cases and collaborations with paranormal groups. June is also an award-winning author and teacher of psychic ability and mediumship development, and has also developed a relationship mastery program empowering individuals to transform their energy, learn essential love lessons, and manifest desired connections in their lives. With her unique ability to communicate with angels, guides, and departed souls, June's accuracy and strength as a psychic With her unique ability to communicate with angels, guides, and departed souls, June's accuracy and strength as a psychic medium are unparalleled. Above all, she sees her role as not only helping others connect with their loved ones and foster healing, but also inspiring gratitude for the everyday gifts life bestows upon us. Welcome to Supernormalized, June Edward. June, you're a psychic from a very long time now. Now give us some of your backstory about how that happened. Were you actually always a psychic? Were you born a psychic?
So I'm actually a psychic medium. So the difference between a psychic medium is I actually see and talk to dead people as well.
As well. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so everybody has psychic abilities. It's a matter of some people have more than others. And my earliest remembrance was about the age of 3.
Yeah.
I heard someone calling my name. I thought it was my parents. I got out of bed. I went to see them and they were fast asleep. Went back to bed, lied down, and started seeing all kinds of faces in my room, which scared the heck out of me.
Yes.
And pulled the sheet up over my face, and as the sun started to come up, they were like right in my face. Very, very scary.
Yeah. I can understand that would be scary as a child. I mean, I myself had an experience like that too, where I got up one time, went to my parents' room and looked at the wardrobe, and it actually turned into a face that was looking at me, and I was like, oh no, what's going on here? That scared me even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally understand that.
So yeah, I mean, growing up, you think people are seeing things that you do, and you don't know, you're a child, right?
Yeah.
And, I used to tell the kids in school what was going to happen before it happened, and you quickly get labeled a freak, so you really start to stop telling people.
Yeah, right.
And, I was a mess as a kid. I would have nervous habits and bite my nails and have all kinds of tics and stutter and everything because what do you do? There's nobody you
Yeah,
can go to. I couldn't go to anybody. I couldn't even tell my parents. It was just, yeah, it was difficult.
that can be quite
Um,
isolating, can't it? Having that sort of ability
yeah,
and those sort of understandings. I understand that too. That when you have to suppress it, then it comes out in other ways, and it's not really healthy when it comes out in the other ways. It's like you self-medicate against it, and you put pressure on yourself, and it turns into anxiety and all sorts of things.
it does. Yeah. It's not natural to not naturally see them, to be honest.
Yeah, I
It
believe that
really
too.
isn't. We're conditioned to block it, and we do it out of fear. So I blocked them for the better part of my life, to be honest. When I was 10 years old, my parents split up. My dad had actually kidnapped the youngest of the five of us, and my job was to do the dishes every night.
Yeah.
And there was a woman who would stand there and keep me company about the age of 45, and I appreciated it. I assumed everyone saw her. So I asked my older brother one day who she was, and he starts laughing and telling me that she's the woman that was murdered in the house by her husband. And it scared me
Oh.
so much, she felt it, and she never came back again.
Oh. So that's a bit sad
So,
because there was a spirit connection there for you already, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and just the way you took that information and it didn't seem to work for you at that time. But now with all those years behind you, your understanding, things would have been different. Imagine if the whole world was actually able to see and perceive spirits in a different way. How much more amazing would it be?
It would be wonderful because all of the people that, we hear having a 3D existence, but that's not
Yes,
who we are. We're not the suit that's sitting here. We're the energetic soul that's inside.
exactly.
So what's horrible for people is that when somebody you love and you care about, whether it's a parent or a partner dies, and they go to the other side, well, it's like a two-way mirror. They can see you, they can hear you, they can touch you. It's like they're banging on the glass saying, I'm here, I'm here. But you're totally oblivious because your pineal gland's been blocked, so it's calcified, so you're not seeing them or hearing them. You're not paying attention to the things that they're doing or the signs that they're trying to show you, and you have fear of it. So it's a horrible experience for them on the other side as well, because they want to contact you even more than you want to contact them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, and as a part of that crossing over point too, for some spirits, it can be quite hard. They go into those spaces that the Tibetans call the bardos, and it's like being buffeted around inside a really crowded pinball machine. So, and
I
they
don't
sometimes,
have any experience with that. I have experience with the ghosts that are stuck here in 3D.
okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I have
yeah.
experience with, 4D, which is our dream state, and I have experience with 5D, but I had never heard of the ones getting stuck and getting bounced around like a pinball machine.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it seems like on from my experience of it is when you cross over just a little bit. That's where they people call it the hell realms because there's no understanding and it's dark and it can be quite confusing for some of the spirits.
I think it's different for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, for instance, a lot of people that have an NDE, a near-death experience, they'll see a tunnel of light that comes down that they go into or something. I didn't see that. I was immediately taken to heaven, immediately.
Mm.
Um, Other people, I met a guy at the gym once, about 5 or 6 years ago, and he comes over and he goes, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi." He goes, "I heard you're a medium." I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "I heard you died." I'm like, "I did." He goes, "So did I." I said, "It's amazing. Isn't it beautiful?" He goes, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean, no?" "I didn't go to heaven." He goes, "They took me to hell." I'm like, "What?" He's the first and only person I've ever talked to that went to hell. He goes, "Yep." He goes, I had a heart attack at 45. He goes, "And they took me to hell. They told me I wasn't staying, but they wanted me to see what it was and that it was real. And they wanted me to tell people." And he came back and became a Catholic priest.
Yeah. Yep. I've,
Yeah.
I've I've heard other stories like that. For a little while there, I was deep diving in all of the YouTube NDEs, and it seemed like about very small percent would have the hell experience, but most people would have the crossing over,
Yeah,
being
he's the
taken
only
into other
person
realms.
I've ever talked to. And it's interesting because I never called it an NDE. I didn't even know what the term was, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a label that the scientists came up with because they can't quantify it. I always called it a death experience because I knew I had died.
yeah, for sure.
But less than 10% of the people that have an NDE get to the level that I got to and actually have a full life review. So that's actually kind of rare.
Right, right. Okay. Wow. Cool.
And even less, obviously, we're told that they had a choice to stay or come back. A lot of them were told they can't stay. It's not their time. They have to come back.
Right, right. So you went through your childhood feeling misunderstood and growing through that and actually gaining understanding just by experience with your connection to the spirits and your mediumship ability and your psychic ability. How did that develop over time for you? Did you actually just start doing work with people with that, or did you just feel
Well, it
compelled to do
didn't.
this? It
It
didn't.
didn't, quite honestly, because I blocked
Okay.
it. I was afraid of my abilities.
Okay.
And that's like most people. You know, I have a sister that's got a lot of abilities and she's older than me and very afraid of it and wants nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
But we have quite the psychic connection together. So, you know, the only time anything would come through to me is if somebody died. They would immediately come to me and I would tell whoever it was, and they'd be like, no way. I'm like, yeah. And they'd look at, sure enough, the person had died. But I was intrigued by it. So after I came back from dying, you would think my abilities would open up and that would be it, right? No,
Yeah.
no, I was just intrigued by it. So I was like your regular ghost hunter. I want to go see and feel, and I could feel the energy. I could see the energy. You know, I could see the orbs. I could feel it, all of that. So I'd go sleep on the Queen Mary. I'd go to the Wally House. I'd go to Alcatraz. I did all kinds of haunted vacations, you know. I was very intrigued by it, but I was still afraid of it. And about 10 years ago, I've been in business my whole life. And I was going through a second divorce and I was running 5 businesses at the time. I was very overwhelmed. And I was making hiring decisions out of desperation, which are terrible things to do because they don't work out.
Yeah.
And I went to see a Reiki practitioner just to have some Reiki done to relax. And she recommended that I meditate. And I'm like, there's no way. I can't shut my brain off long enough. Are you kidding me with everything that I have going on? The first time I tried to meditate, it was like they kicked the door into the other side. She's
Oh.
ready. And I could not shut it off.
Oh, wow.
It was 1,000 times stronger than when I was a kid. And I was working as a medical esthetician in my own business. So, you know, I'm getting the overflow, so I don't know these people. The first one to come in the room, I'm like, huh, did your aunt just die? She goes, yeah, she did. How did you know? I'm like, I have no idea how I know. Did you clean out her house? She goes, yeah, this weekend we cleaned her house out. I'm like, oh. Did you happen to find one of those sock puppets from the 1950s? It looks like a monkey. She goes, yeah, we found one in the attic. I mean, how random is this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The next one to come in, I'm like, oh, I said, I got something weird happening. I really don't know what's going on. I said, but I'm picking up on all kinds of stuff. I said, are you having, you know, are you afraid for your husband for some reason? She goes like, yeah, I am. I'm really afraid. It's the first time he's ever traveled alone without me, and he went to Florida on business. I said, oh, okay. I said, he's going to be okay. She goes, oh, okay. I said, I don't really know what's going on. I said, but you know, do you live in this little like A-frame house, like right on the water that's blue shutters, it's white with blue. No, we live in a red house, looks like a barn back in the woods. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, let it go. She goes to leave. She goes to check out at the front desk. She comes
Yeah.
running back in the room holding up her phone. Look. It's a picture on it from a husband. It says, I found our new house, and it's exactly the house that I
Oh,
described.
my. Wow.
Then the next one that comes in, now it just keeps getting stronger and worse. The next one that comes in is followed by a man about her age in a full military uniform. And I'm like, oh my God, now what, right? She gets all in the bed and stuff. And I'm like, listen, I said, I got something really kind of weird going on. Not sure what it is. Stuff's coming to me. I said, I said, are you a widow? She goes, yeah, my husband passed away about 6 months ago. It's the guy standing next to me. I said, if he had a message for you or anything, would you want to know about it? She goes, absolutely not. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, trying to tell him, listen, there's nothing I can do. She doesn't want to know. And he's just standing there going, I miss her. And I'm like, oh my God, now I got to do my job, right?
Yeah. Oh,
It was, and the next one comes in and I'm like, same thing. I said, I don't know what's happening here, but I kind of know a bunch of stuff all of a sudden. I'm sure why this is happening. I'm like, do you have a 2-year-old little girl? She goes, yeah, I do. I said, and you have 4 Christmas trees up in your house? She goes, have you been to my house? I'm like, no, I swear to God, I haven't been to your house. She goes, I said, you have 2 white trees. You got one in the front window. You got 2 white trees upstairs and one downstairs in your bay window. And you have a smaller one like in the kitchen, right? She goes, you've been to my house. I said, I swear to God, I haven't been to your house. The first couple, I'm wondering if they're just agreeing with me with everything, right? I mean,
yeah.
this stuff just kept continuing. I'm like, I know what you got your daughter for Christmas. I know what you got your husband. I said, I know what he got you. Do you want to know? She's like, no.
So
And
it
I was
sounds,
literally freaking out, really. I mean, it's like people that have these abilities, if you don't find someone that can help you turn it off, you go
mm,
crazy. You start
yeah,
self-medicating. They become alcoholics and drug addicts and think they're crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, that's what would happen. I think if you
Yeah.
don't, if you're not ready for it, if you don't understand what's happening, then it can be very, very tough. And I've got to ask you there, though. You said it sounds like a knowing that you're having with these people. And did you have, with your understanding of what information is coming through, was that coming through like visions, or were you actually physically seeing people in the room?
Both.
For example, both. Okay,
Both.
okay. Wow, that would have been really
Yeah.
intense.
Same thing now. I get visions, I hear voices, and I see them in 3D.
Oh,
Sometimes it's
that's
hard for
cool.
me to tell if they're human or if they're not. I can only pick up on their energy. That's the only
Okay.
way I know if they're a spirit or, but the problem with that is the ghosts that are stuck here have the same energetic frequency as a live human being because they have not gone into the light. So the frequency is the same. Just like if I'm working on a missing person case, for me, I have to tap into them and tell from their energy whether or not they've gone into the light. I can tell immediately then if they're dead. But if they haven't gone into the light and they're stuck here, I can't tell if they're actually dead unless they tell me or if they're still alive
Oh,
and human with the same frequency.
yeah, right, right. Wow. Ooh. So that would have been really tough, actually, turning that down or turning that off. What did you do for yourself at that time? I mean, how did you figure out a way to make sense of the world with this newfound, turbo ability of psychic mediumship?
So it's interesting, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right?
Yes.
So I grabbed every awakening magazine there was and I called every psychic that was in there telling them what was happening and where can I go? How do I turn this off? What do I do? And eventually they sent me to a spiritualist church and I went in and sat in the back and I listened to the speaker. And she happened to be a teacher of mediumship and psychic development. And I tried contacting her and she was completely full booked. She was in Boston and about an hour away from me. And she had a cancellation the next day. So I went all the way up there to see her. And of course, I go in and I explain what's happening to her. She's like, well, let's see what your abilities are. Um, have a seat. She's like, well, I want you to bring in a relative of mine. I'm like, what do you mean bring them in? I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. They just show up.
Oh, wow.
So she was great. And I brought through all of her relatives as far back as the potato famine in Ireland on both sides, both parents' sides. And then I brought
Wow.
through a witch that happened to live on her property and she had tried to ban her from her property and was still stuck on the side of the property. And she kept ringing the doorbell while I was there. And I ended up with her in my car going home.
Oh,
I'm on the
no.
highway and I spot her in the front seat of my car because they'll get in your vehicle, no problem.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Freaked me out. I screamed and I had all these papers on the car that she was sitting on top. All the papers went flying. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
Great
It sounds.
introduction for me.
Yeah. No, no, that's absolutely perfect. My whole podcast is around normalizing the supernatural, and you've had a very supernatural experience many, many times in your life, and to me, that's beautiful and amazing. And to me, this is all integration of what I consider to be the natural world. So, for some reason, we've been colonized in a way to think that some things just aren't real. And those things that aren't real, we all know intuitively that they are real. But then, like your experiences, these things do happen to people. So it's normal.
Well,
It's totally normal.
it is, but the difference is this, you're in this 3D body, you're here having a 3D experience, and you have a brain, most people.
Yeah.
Well, your brain has a very specific job. Your brain is a computer. It helps you process everything, but your brain has a specific job. Your brain's job is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So people are making all their decisions from fear, not from their soul. When you make a decision from your brain, it's a 50-50 crapshoot. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but you're always going to question it. When you make it from your soul, that's the knowing. Everybody's had some decision they've made in their life. They just knew it was the right thing to do. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it was to get married, to have a child, to buy a house, or get a job, whatever. You just knew it was the right thing to do, and you didn't think it through, and it worked out perfectly. That is your soul. So when you can meditate and get in touch with your soul and get out of your head, you get more in tune to listening to your soul and making your decisions from your soul, which some people might call that gut feeling. That is your soul.
Right, right. And yeah, I've experienced that many times myself. And that sort of deep, deep, deep knowing is exactly what is real truth. Real
It's your
truth.
soul. Yeah. I mean, so when you get in touch with your soul is way too big for this body. Some of it's in your body, some of it's the aura that people see over your head, and the rest of it is the majority of your soul is in the lowest level of heaven, 5D, where I went. And that orchestrates the timing of all the events that happen in your life. But when you meditate and you get in touch with your soul, you're not just getting in touch with the soul that's inside of you. You're getting in touch with the mass of your soul that's up in the 5D. And that has all the knowledge of all your lifetimes. So if do you meditate?
Yeah, every day.
Okay, do you get ear ringing once in a while?
All the time.
Okay, so that's a download. That's how it's giving you the knowledge from your soul to your brain, to your computer. You hear that ringing. It's just like uploading a computer. That's what it's doing. And then you'll suddenly have more information on different things. You don't really know how you know it, but you know it.
Yeah, yep. That's exactly my experience as well. Yeah, wow, that's cool. I want to circle back to something you said earlier on when you were describing your understanding of your experiences around psychic ability, and you talked about how some people are shut down from their abilities because they have a calcified pineal gland. What is your understanding of that?
So the pineal gland is about a walnut-sized gland that sits between the three lobes of your brain. It's kind of lodged in between all of them. And they found that it's actually made out of the same cells as your eyeballs. That's why they call it the third eye. Okay.
Right.
And it's literally like, if you can think of a reflecting pool, it's just filled with clear fluid, and it's like a reflecting pool. So when you're picking up transmissions and energy from wherever, it forms pictures on that pool. So for instance, if I was going to tap into your house, I would get the signals, the energy would be bouncing off of the items in your home type of thing and forming pictures on that pineal gland for me to see. All right, I'd pick up the pictures and it would process with my brain and I'd be able to see it. And the same thing with messages sometimes. Sometimes you hear them directly. Sometimes you're just hearing them in your head. It's kind of like mental telepathy.
Yes.
But it's being picked up from that pineal gland. It's basically a transmitter.
Right.
So it ends up getting calcified very easily. From one of the biggest calcifiers is fluoride. Now, fluoride, everybody wants to say, oh, it's so good for your teeth. No, fluoride is poison. And it will kill you in higher doses. And it's a byproduct of heavy metal, iron and steel. So back in the 40s, they didn't know what to do with this stuff. What do you do with all the poison, right? Put it in 55-gallon drums and let it rot into the ground? No, somebody came up with the idea of dumping it in the water. Put it in the water, it dilutes out so much, nobody will know it's there, right? So then some politician got in the middle of that and they're like, wait a minute, if I can have the federal government come up with $1 million, we can buy it from you, put it in the water, tell everybody it's good for them, and you can kick me back $500,000. Wouldn't that be cool? And it went on from there. And then they realized that, gee, it's kind of dumbing the population down a little bit. They're not as aware as they used to be. They're not as psychic as they used to be. It's in the toothpaste now. It's very hard to find toothpaste that doesn't have it. And every municipal water supply has it now.
Mm.
And there's a lot of them don't even go, they don't test it properly. There's no standardization for what they're using. There was a case in Montana, in the United States going back about 20 years ago, and the woman's horses would not drink the water in the wintertime. They would eat the snow. And then in the summertime, they were dehydrating and dying. They would rather die than drink the water. They had the water tested. All the people were drinking this water, and the fluoride in it was so high that they all come up with cancer rates that were off the rails.
Wow, that's awful. So, what are the tricks to decalcifying the pineal gland and helping yourself get in touch with your psychic ability again?
Well, there's lots of things, I guess, on the internet that people can research of different ways
Mm,
and techniques, but I know the biggest one is to stop ingesting any fluoride. So use
exactly.
toothpaste that doesn't have fluoride and drink spring
Mm,
water that does
yeah.
not have fluoride in it.
Yeah. Right. Right. Now, I was going to ask you another question that you made me think about when we were talking before, and it was about your missing person cases. So you've done a lot of work with those as well.
I have, yeah.
Mm. And how does that work for you? I mean, do they come to you and the authorities come to you and ask you to see what's happening with this person?
It's usually the family
Okay.
that's working in the conjunction with the police department, and I'll give them the information and they'll take it back to the police department. And fortunately, I was where I was living, the chief of police there, when he retired, he became a medium. So he was very open to it, and we did find quite a few of the people on the missing person cases.
Wow.
And then, I've done a couple of murder cases, but again, it was the family that was coming to me for the information and then going to the police department with the information.
Right, right. Wow, that would be exciting and also challenging at the same time.
Very challenging. Very, like
Yeah.
I said, if they're a ghost, it's hard for me to tell if they're dead if they don't want you to know. And
Mm.
yeah, that can be very challenging.
Yeah, thinking about your life and you growing up and how you mentioned that your sister is also has an ability but sort of denies it. Does it seem like you have like a ability that runs through your family line? Is that something?
It absolutely does. And my mom was a medium, which I didn't know because, I was 10 years old when my dad kidnapped us and just told us she was crazy.
Oh no.
And I connected with her years later. And 10 years ago, when I went to start studying, I studied for a year and a half before I did anything. And it ended up being at most of the places that she had studied 50 years earlier. There was
Mm.
actually a couple people there that still remembered her.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so another thing that you'd mentioned before was that you had your own death experience. What happened there for you?
So I had injured my back when I was 22, and I held
Mm.
off until I was 27 to have the surgery because I just knew I was going to die.
Oh wow.
And when they told
Okay.
me I had no choice but to go in for the surgery, I did let everybody know, listen, I know I'm going to die. Oh no, you're just afraid, da da da. I'm like, no, I'm telling you. So the night before the surgery, they did an MRI test with a contrast dye. And I told them that I thought I was allergic to it. I'd had it once before, had a very bad reaction to it. And they told me that that was normal. It happens to everybody. And what do I know? I'm 27. They're the doctor, right?
Wow.
And as soon as they administered the contrast dye, I died. And I immediately was taken to heaven, to the fifth dimension, which is the lowest level.
Yeah.
I could see everything that was happening, and I could hear the nurses out in the hallway talking and the conversations in the rest of the hospital. But I was really focused on my life review that was happening in front of me. It's like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater.
Yeah,
And the only
right.
things they're showing you are all the great times in your life, the things that brought you joy, the people that you loved and you cared about. And I used to say that the two things you took with you are knowledge and love. But now that I do this work and I bring through a lot of souls from the other side, it's not just love. You bring through your feelings. There's a lot of souls on the other side that are still stuck in sorrow, anger, regret, um, you take those feelings with you. But for me at the time, it was just pure love. That's all I
Mm.
was feeling.
Mm.
And it was a really hard decision to come back, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
right.
I would have stayed, except I remembered I had 2 young children.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
knew that I was supposed to be here for them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's the reason, as soon as I made the decision to come back, I was back in my body instantly.
Mm. And then you had your operation and everything was good?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So, what's your success rate with bringing through souls from the other side? I mean, it sounds like you've got a massively higher success rate with that for what you're saying.
So to date, it's 100%.
Excellent.
I don't work like most mediums do. Most mediums will have somebody standing there and they'll just say, well, I got a guy in farmer jeans and big shoes, and who does he belong to? I don't work that way. Um, and I won't work if somebody just says, oh, whoever comes through for me, because 500 people are coming through and the message may not even be for you. I spent 25 minutes one day with a woman that did that to me. And oh, I don't recognize her. I don't recognize it. I don't know who that is. All of a sudden it clicked. Oh my God, it's my mother's next door neighbor that passed. The message wasn't even for her, it was for the next door neighbor's daughter. But
Oh,
because they knew they could get a message through, they're all trying to bust through. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So I do specifically, if you want to talk to somebody, you say their name in the head, I'll tell you who shows up, and then we go from there. Yeah.
Wow.
My
Yeah, okay.
vibration is much higher because if you look at quantum physics, the speed of light is over 300 million miles a second, right? So when my energetic soul went into that speed of light to go to heaven, it was traveling extremely fast. And then it came back into my body. So my vibration is automatically so much higher than everyone else's. And I can connect like instantly to the fifth dimension. I go back and forth to heaven, from heaven constantly.
Yeah. So you're bridging all worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
let me pass the fifth though.
You know that in other cultures they call that person a shaman.
Yeah, so they've let me see the other dimensions. My parents, I watched my mom's soul leave her body.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah, and wow, that's a story. There was
Yeah.
an so didn't know my mom was sick. She was 93.
Okay.
My mother and my father died the exact same day, the exact same age, 1 year apart. Took my mom in for a doctor's appointment. She was fine the day before. She was really out of it when I went to take her. So I took her to the emergency room. First, they thought she just had a UTI, put her on antibiotic. They did x-rays and chest x-rays and brain x-rays, and there's some lesions on her brain. He's like, oh yeah, we're just going to give her some antibiotics and send her back. I said, well, can I ask you a question? I said, why is one of her lungs completely black on the x-ray? What are you talking about? I said, the lung was black. Pulls it out. He goes, oh, you're right. She's got her chest she's full of fluid. So they drained her lung. Come to find out, she had a hole in her lung. She had cancer. Didn't know that at the time. Brought her up to a room. They planned on inserting a permanent tube to keep it draining. When we got in the room, there was an angel sitting next to the television set. And I looked at her and I said, Mom, do you see the angel that's up there next to the TV? And she's like, no, I don't see him. So I thought that was a good sign. Went home, got her all comfortable, went home, took care of my dogs, came back the next morning, was met by an oncologist to tell me that, there's nothing they can do. She's only going to probably make it another 6 hours or so. And I asked her again, I said, Mom, do you see the angel that's up next to the TV now? She goes, yeah, I see him. I've seen him for a couple hours. So that to me, I knew. So during the night, I asked him his name. He told me his name was Makael. And this is how they're always teaching me from the other side.
Mm.
So Makael, I looked it up, and it is the angel that takes advanced souls to the higher realms when they pass.
Mm.
So I watched her soul leave her body, and some of her family came through with this angel and took her to the higher realms where my dad and 2 sisters were already there. So and then they start talking, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? So something was bothering me about Makael. So I looked it up. It took me a couple weeks. I looked it up again. Makael is Archangel Michael. But had
Yes.
they told me it was Archangel Michael, I would not looked it up and I would not have known that part of his duty is to take the advanced souls to the higher realms.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Wow.
Yep. Always teaching me.
Always teaching you. So you have a lot of. Do you have actually a question around this? When you're working, like not working, do you ever have like taps on the shoulder from higher beings coming like from the 5D to you to get your attention to give you extra information, or is it something that you sort of like close off to until we get certain times?
So the way it works is you are always in charge. Okay. We have a gatekeeper that keeps the souls at bay unless I'm working. They can only come through to me unless it's an emergency.
Yeah.
However, angels and guides are always trying to keep you on your path and give you messages and information all day long. So they will give you, binary codes, numbers, symbols, signs, those types of things to keep you on your path. The other things that they do, they will come through to me when I'm meditating, and I do meditate. I'll meditate 2 or 3 good meditations for 20 minutes or so per day, and then probably 4 or 5 for like just a couple minutes. But I'll constantly get downloads, and they will come to me in my meditation. I'll see their face, I'll hear what they have to say, all kinds of stuff.
Okay. So part of your story of your life is you ended up starting to write books and getting your information out there to everyone through writing. What books have you written so far?
So I started writing my autobiography when I was around 20. And I'd start it, I'd stop it, I'd lose it. My kids started getting a little bit older and found it on my computer. And the last thing I wanted them to know was everything I'd gone through when I grew up. So I delete it. So when my mom was in the nursing home dying, I started to really get into writing my autobiography. And at the same time, I was teaching mediumship and psychic development. And I kept hearing, you got to write the book. You got to write the book. And I'm like, I'm writing the book. They're like, no, not that book, another book. I'm like, what other book? They wanted me to write a book about the mediumship and psychic development that I was teaching so that the students actually had like a handbook.
Yes.
And I can teach everybody else. They can just go buy the book and everything that I taught is in the book. So I said, listen, if you want me to teach this book, you're going to have to write this book. You're going to have to help me because I have no time. I'm taking care of my mom. I'm working. I'm teaching. So I literally channeled that, wrote that book and published it in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then I went back to finishing my autobiography and published that. And then people kept contacting me wanting information and readings about relationships because that's what we're all about. Relationships is how we learn all our lessons. Okay.
Yes.
And I created a program, a 7-week online program called the Relationship Mastery Program. And it was divinely created. The angels helped me make this program because although it took me a year to get it running properly with all the, the computer technical stuff, because that's, I had to learn it to do it. I literally put the program together in a matter of probably 4 or 5 weeks. It's like when I was teaching psychic development, I had started a Facebook group for relationships. And all of a sudden I heard I need to make videos about relationships. I'm like, okay. So I sat down and I wrote out enough to do 10 videos. I had no idea why, but they're telling me I'm supposed to do this. So I did it. Okay. Now I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these things now? I mean, I hired a professional camera crew, studio, everything for these videos. Now I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these things? Sell them on Facebook? No one's interested in this stuff, right? Well, they sat there for about a year and a half. When they had me make the Relationship Mastery Program, all of those videos are in that program. That's what they were for.
Wow. Yeah, right.
They know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but they know. And the program teaches people how to change their energy, elevate their energy, how to get in touch with their soul, how the universe works, how to balance their energy so they can maintain the law of attraction. Yeah. I've had hundreds of people go through that program, and the stories that I can tell you, they have gone from wanting to take their own life to being on the top of the world.
Brilliant.
That's the difference in 7 weeks.
Wow, cool. And so your latest book is All's Fair in Love
In
and
Love and
Karma.
Karma. And this book is a result of the Relationship Mastery Program, because everybody that went through the program, I learned, had the same 5 lessons that they had to learn. And when they learned all those 5 lessons, everything in their life falls into place.
Oh,
That's why we're here.
any of those lessons you can share without going
I
too
can
much
share
into
them all with you. So the
Oh,
first one
okay.
is self-worth. The
Self-worth.
first
Yes.
one is self-worth, and it is not value, because value is what someone else places on you. Self-worth is the understanding that you are so important, that you are the only one of you on this entire world.
Mhm.
You are that special and needed here, that they put you here. And it's understanding that, you have to put yourself first. It's not narcissistic, and it's not, what's the word I'm looking for?
Self-interested.
Yeah, you have to do it. It's where everything else comes from. If you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be here to take care of anybody else. It's that simple.
Yes.
And no one else has the power to make you do anything. I can't make you love me. I can't make you hate me. You are the only person that has control over that. So you have to love yourself first, and you have to be happy. Happiness doesn't come from somebody else. It comes from you. And when you're happy, you can ping pong that happiness off everybody else. So that's the first lesson. Then there's trust and communication. And you have to trust that there is a higher power, and you have to trust that there is a plan, and that everything's that's happening in your life, nothing is happening to you. It's all happening for you and for your highest and best. And if you're stuck and you're stubborn and you can't do it for yourself, I guarantee you the universe will step in to give you that little push to put you back on the path you're supposed to be on, because that's how it works. And you have to be able to communicate your wants and your needs to the other people in your life, or they aren't going to know. It's not osmosis. You've got, and everybody, whether it's your significant other, whether it's your child, your parent, your employer, you have to be able to communicate with them, and you have to trust somebody enough to be able to open up to them to communicate. And sex is just another form of communication. If you can't trust and communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to be able to do it inside the bedroom. Then you have unconditional love. Unconditional love is not playing the martyr and saying, oh, I have to stay in this abusive relationship because I'm supposed to love them unconditionally. That's not what it is. And each lesson reinforces the next. So that brings in the lesson of self-worth again. It's saying, listen, I love you. I care about you. I want the best for you. We've been together for a while and it's not working. It's not bringing us joy. It's time to go our separate ways. End of story. You don't badmouth them out the back door. You wish them well and you want the best for them. That's unconditional love. Suppose you had a child that you loved dearly and they did something horrific, like murdering a neighbor in a fit of rage, and they go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but hopefully you're still going to love your child, right? That's unconditional love. And that's hard for a lot of people because they want to live in the drama here. And then you have money and balance. And money is energy. That's why it's called currency. And it's what we use in this 3D world to show whether or not your life is in balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. You have the day and the night, the left and the right, good and evil. Everything has to be in balance. And everything has to be an even exchange of energy. If not, it has no value. I literally gave the program to 2 people in the military that, I felt bad for and couldn't afford it. They never did the program. It had no value for them because there was no even exchange of energy there. And you don't walk into a grocery store to buy a gallon of milk and plop down $1 million, right? It has to be an even exchange of energy.
Yeah.
So now you go to work and you're working 80 hours a week, right? And you want to make a lot of money and save a lot of money. Well, now your life's out of balance because all you do is work. You have no time to spend with your family, no time with your friends, no time for your hobbies. And then you're hoarding your money because you want to save it, right? So you don't even have the self-worth to spend the fruits of your labor on yourself. So each of these lessons keeps reinforcing the next lesson. And then when it's taken to the extreme and it's completely out of control, money ends up becoming power. And there's the evil end of the money, okay? Because that's way out of balance, all right? And then the last one you have is is patience. And that's a real hard one for a lot of people too, because we live in a society right now of instant gratification. They want everything now. They want it yesterday. They want Uber to deliver. They want you to return my text message immediately. And it's not really how things work, you know. Wouldn't it be kind of stupid if every 5-year-old little girl that wants to have, you know, get married and have babies has the stork showing up at her door every day? You know, it happens when it's supposed to, in the perfect timing that you wrote into your plan. And if you knew the plan and remembered the plan, you wouldn't want to get out of bed in the morning. It's that simple because you already knew what was going to happen, right?
Right.
It's not what that's, you know, you're not supposed to know that. Maybe you know, your knowing will know, I know, you know, my high school sweetheart, I know he's the guy, I know that's going to happen. And it probably will, but it's going to happen in the timing that it's supposed to. So you have to learn patience and trust the plan. So again, each one of these lessons intertwines with the other ones to keep reinforcing each of the lessons. And once you've learned all 5 of those lessons and you've gotten in touch with your soul, your entire life changes. Your energy. So, you know, because we're energetic frequencies, we're like magnets. We're always either attracting or repelling at any given time. So if you don't like what you're bringing into your life because it's on the same frequency that you are, just like a radio station, right? Can't get the station if you're on the wrong frequency. If you want to bring something different into your life, you have to elevate your frequency and raise your frequency. And when you do that, you'll bring other people and other things into your life that are on a higher frequency. And this is how the law of attraction works. But in order for you to maintain the law of attraction, you have to balance your energy. Because if you're that high and you're not balancing, you're going to crash because everything has to maintain balance.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Wow, that's jam-packed with wisdom by the sound of it. I mean, all of those understandings, portrayed as those 5 steps, make a lot of sense to me just in the way you explained them just then. So it's like, oh, there's some realizations in there for me even then, just going, what?
And it's like, you know, the universe wants you to think you have a choice, right? Or free will, right?
Yeah.
But realistically, we don't. The only free will you have is to delay your lessons, point blank. You know, seriously, they will offer you door 1, 2, and 3, just like a game show. You take door 1, you go through it, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you get divorced. Where are you going to be? In front of door 1, 2, and 3. What do most people do? They take door 1 again. They go through it, they get married, they have a couple more kids, they get divorced again, right?
Yes.
Now they're in front of door 1, 2, 3 again. Well, if they learn their lesson, they're not going to take door 1 anymore. They're going to take door 2 or door 3. And they may still get married and have more children, but it is not going to end in divorce the way the first 2 did because they learned that lesson. Maybe it was self-worth. Maybe the first 2 were abusive. Maybe it was money and balance and they were just spendthrifts. Maybe it was unconditional love and they didn't know how to give it and receive it. Whatever that lesson was, once you've learned it, you move on in your life again. Until you learn your lesson, you're going to keep attracting the exact same people to teach you the exact same lesson. It's the old, you know, how come you're dating that girl again? She acts just like your ex-wife. What are you talking about? My ex-wife had brown hair. This one's got blonde hair. You don't even see it because you're there to learn a lesson, right? But everybody else around you can see it. It's the same girl with different color hair.
Wow. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So a question for you about how you formulated all of these understandings and the connections that you get from the other side. How do you validate those connections and information? I mean, do you ever have a time when you know that something isn't correct information? You go, oh, I don't know who that's from. That doesn't sound right. No?
No.
Oh,
Any
it's always
information
perfect.
that I'm getting from the other side, it may seem a little wonky to me. And then I'll try and research it a little bit. But anything that I'm getting from the other side, I trust. It's coming from higher vibration.
Yeah,
it's
right.
coming from also my own soul and knowledge that I've had through my lifetimes. So I absolutely trust that 100%. And they validate most of it. So again, all the lessons in this book, it's been validated with hundreds of people that I've worked with that have gone through my program. And I don't work with 2 people. I work with 1 person in a relationship. Not marriage counseling. It's 1 person because it only takes 1 person to make or break anything.
mm,
When you
mm,
change, they change. When you do something different, they do something different. It's how it works. So it only takes one person, and you can change anything in your life in 6 weeks. If you found the right, if you smoked and you wanted to quit and you found the right program and did it every day for 6 weeks, you could quit for the rest of your life. Do you know why it works? It
no.
rewires your brain. Your brain is a computer.
Mm,
So that's
mm,
what I do. I unteach people what they think they know, what they've been taught, what they've been brainwashed with. And I explain to them how things really work. And I
mm,
give them a process. And when they follow the program exactly, they will see it for themselves.
mm, mm,
The stories from the videos that are on my website from people that have gone through my program are just incredible. I had
mm,
one girl, she wanted to get married to the father of her child, who was a restaurateur, and he did not want to get remarried again. And she was heartbroken. She wanted to get married. She went through my program. She followed it to the T. She was dating 4 other people, just going out, enjoying herself. The heck with it, right? She
mm.
got 5 marriage proposals, including his. Okay. But
Wow.
it's like to the extreme.
Yeah,
Bring
yeah,
it, you ask the universe, it brings it to you. Sometimes it in tenfold.
yeah, exactly, exactly. What do you believe is your purpose as a psychic medium with your gifts? I mean, what's your overarching purpose in life?
To help people.
Help people. Mm,
Yeah, that's it. That's, I
yeah.
mean, that's pretty much all I'm here for anymore, is just to help the people that want to be helped. Teach the
Mm,
people that want to learn, help them have a better existence here, help them enjoy the life they have here and understand why they're here.
yeah, yeah, okay. And
And help,
ha-
I'm still helping people on the other side too, which is amazing. When I bring one through from the other side, that's, they're in grief and torture because they knew they hurt somebody down here and they haven't been able to get the closure either. And when I
mm,
can get ththese two together and I'm the mediary, and they can talk and they can work it out, and they realize, they both love each other, and it was, it's a misunderstanding and they didn't want to hurt each other. They can both move on. They can move on that side and they can move on this side.
mm.
That's a wonderful thing.
For sure, for sure. Now, if there's somebody out there that is struggling with their psychic gifts and their abilities, do you have a message that you could give to them to help them embrace that understanding and those abilities?
So, you're going to be ready when you're ready. It's that simple. You can't push anything in life. If it's your calling, you'll know it. If it's something that you just want to dabble in, you're welcome to do that.
Mm,
Um, but if you're struggling with it and you want to understand it and you want to improve it, then you can buy my book, A Night on the Other Side, and that has lots of education and tips and things for you to do in
mm.
order to improve your own abilities and what you're looking for and what you're looking at and how it works on the other side.
Excellent, excellent. So, June, we're coming towards the end of the podcast. How do people find you and your book and your services?
So my website is juneedward.com. There's no S in that, juneedward.com. And there are plenty of videos that you can watch. There are links to all of my books, just to make it easier for you to find them. And there is also a free webinar that people can sign up for to learn a little bit more about how energy works. And if they're interested in the relationship mastery program, that is all done online. So they're welcome to schedule a meeting with me to see if they'd be a good candidate for it. And they can schedule an appointment with me online. And I do work in other countries. I work through Zoom or Skype. They could schedule a reading or a mediumship or Akashic records, destiny cards, anything that they
Mm,
need.
yeah, excellent, excellent. I'll provide all that in the show notes. And June, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a really good conversation, and I can imagine how intense that would have been growing up with this ability, and then to have it break open after your death experience. That would have been amazing. And all power to you and what you're bringing
It's
to the
funny. I
world.
always say, I wish it had opened up years ago and I've been doing this for, 50 years instead of 10. And I'm like, but the reality is I wouldn't be able to do it as well or know what I
Mm,
know if I didn't go through everything they put me through first. So
Yeah,
It
yeah,
happens when it's supposed to happen, like everything in life.
yeah. Looking back upon our lives, it seems like there's all these paths that have pushed us in little directions, and
Hmm.
everything happens just right.
Yeah, exactly. We're always perfectly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Before we go, I'll just ask you one more question. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked that might have been popping into your head?
Oh my God, I was waiting to have you talk to me about all these haunted houses that I've been into and the demons that I've
Oh,
chased around and
well, let's
all
go
that kind
there.
of stuff, because I love talking about that stuff. I never get
Oh,
to.
okay. Tell me more. Tell me more. So, I mean, so you've done a lot of house clearings too, then?
Again, they teach me from the other side. This is, my calling is not to work with dark entities. My calling is to work with the ones in the light, but they're going to make sure I'm aware of the ones in the dark.
Hmm.
So, for instance, I used to consult with authors from other countries on paranormal books and things, and they would send me pictures. They're so excited. I caught a picture of this boy, in a barn who's a ghost. He showed up in our camera. And what do you think? And what do you get from it? And I'm like, you got a demon in the picture. What do you mean? You got a demon in the picture. Everybody's so focused on the boy, they don't see the demon. And I
Hmm.
pick up quickly. I said, there was a dog in front of the boy protecting him, a German Shepherd. He goes, oh my God, that makes sense. We were picking up a dog barking on the recording. And
Wow.
yeah, demons are darker than dark. They're blacker than black. So they just thought it was a blackout on the part of but that's what it was. The dog was protecting the boy ghost from the demon that was in the basement with him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then
Wow.
I got literally attacked by a sorcerer. They sent me a picture of a scribing bowl, and they wanted to know what I saw in the picture of the scribing bowl.
All
And I'm
right.
giving them all the information. There was a lot of information in the scribing. You know what a scribing bowl is, right?
But yeah. Yeah. I thought you meant
Yeah.
scrying bowl.
Scry,
Scrying bowl. Yeah. Yeah. I think you might be
scrying.
saying
Yeah.
that wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm giving them all the information. And as I'm doing that, you know, I had no idea that it was from a sorcerer,
Yeah.
because I just
Wow.
did regular protection. I didn't do a salt circle or anything. And as I'm sitting there telling him, within less than 5 minutes, I ended up with a sty in my eye and it was swollen shut. Yeah. And it was like
Wow.
that for over a month. And if you think back in the day, that's the first thing sorcerers would do, right? Give them a sty in their eye.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
they have
you.
more power after they're dead than they did when they were alive. They were on the other side.
Mm,
Very,
right.
very
Right.
powerful. And I worked with NESPR. That's the paranormal group that did Annabelle and The Exorcist and all those other movies. I worked with them for a little bit. I went through
Okay.
their museum, gave them information on some of the artifacts that they had in there that they didn't know where they came from.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you're
I
doing. Would you say you're doing psychometry with that work, or?
um yeah, well, no, it wasn't psychometry because I wasn't touching it. I wasn't going to
Oh,
touch it. I
okay.
can do psychometry. I've done psychometry. Yeah, the problem when I do psychometry is I'll take an item like if it's a piece of jewelry, and I can bring you back on the gold in that, on who even dug the gold out.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the problem with items. Like I can tell you where it came from the last time, the time before that, and who dug the gold. It takes me all the way back on it.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Um, but yeah, I chased a demon around a three family in Hartford, Connecticut one day. Again, it's
Okay.
not my calling, but I couldn't get anybody out there to help this family. And it
Okay.
was attacking her family. It was attached to her mother, the woman's mother, because she's mentally ill and they prey on the weak. And it
Mm.
was attacking her 12-year-old son. And as she's lifting his shirt to show us the bite marks are starting and appearing in front of us
Oh
on being bit
no.
while we're standing there.
Oh no.
And I went
Yeah.
in with a paranormal group so that they could document everything. And I'm telling them the names and who's there, and it's coming up on their little gadgets. And I'm like, yeah, that was wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously these entities exist and they can affect people in our reality as well.
Oh,
So
big time.
does that
And
actually?
they're in a lot of people's houses too. So you got to be careful, because if they weren't residually there because they lived there or with the land, they may have followed you home.
May have followed you home. They may be just wandering the area and found a weak point, which was you and something that you were doing in your life that wasn't
Exactly.
healthy.
Yep, exactly.
that begs the question, do you have a faith as well then?
Do I have a faith?
A faith. Yeah,
Faith as in a religion?
a religious faith at all?
Um, so they're all right and they're all wrong.
Yeah,
There is some basis in all of them.
of course.
Religion itself is something that is man-made, basically, and they're all businesses as well. I mean, I've been asked not to even go back to my church because they didn't like something I said as a medium. I'm like, okay, really? Yeah. And when you get to the other side, you will all find out that there is only one, and it does not matter what you want to call it: source energy, God, Yahweh, Krishna, Buddha. There is one. There is only one. And there are levels of heaven. They've described it to me like a layer cake. And we go to the level based on our belief system and how advanced our soul is. Those are the people that you gather with. Okay. But every time you come back and you reincarnate again, you reincarnate with the same soul group. And there are millions of people in your soul group. Every archangel has a soul group. And you keep reincarnating with those people. But as you gain knowledge from your lessons, your soul advances each time that you reincarnate.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I look forward to all that myself.
And you know what? Religion's not necessarily a bad thing, unless it's a
True.
religion that's teaching you to kill your neighbor and, hate anybody that's different than you. They all have good aspects. They were all formed for a reason. If they can teach love and bring people together to help each other, then they're a good thing, because we're all here to help each other. People forget that. We're here for each other. No one's an island.
Yeah, definitely that is the bottom line for everyone. And I think that's a good place to wind up. And yeah, I think everyone is here for each other and they can help each other. And you're doing great work with what you're doing, June. So thank you so much. I appreciate the time that we've shared today and what you've shared with all the audience as well.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun for me too.
Yeah. All right. I'll say bye for now. It was truly a pleasure speaking with June today, and I had a lot of trouble trying to think of what I would call this episode. So thinking back on it, because she had such a extreme change after her death experience, I decided to call it Surprise Talking to the Dead, because that's pretty much what happened to her. And the discussion delves deep into her psychic ability and how that all happened for her, and then has lots of good touch points on how she works with people and then works with her understanding of the connection through her abilities, and then her guidance to actually write books, which again are there to help people. June is definitely out there as a person that is focused on service to others, and all power to her. She's doing great work. So I thank June for coming on again today, and I wish to say that if you've enjoyed this show, please reach out to June and tell her. It's really good when my listeners follow up with the people that I've interviewed and avail themselves of their services, or even just say hello. So again, thank you for listening today. If you've enjoyed the show, please share the show to at least one person that you think would enjoy it. And a big shout out to all my listeners that rate me on the podcast apps. Please get out there and give me 5 stars. It helps other people to find the shows, and then more people get informed. Thanks very much for listening. Until next show, bye for now.